of our developers, Nathan Stahlman, who is working on the metaverse. I'm kind of a metaverse skeptic, and so I'm going to ask him 7 somewhat skeptical questions about the metaverse, and I think you guys will really enjoy this video. So hang on, and we'll get right into it. Hey, Nathan.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. Awesome. Loving the sweatshirt. It's the geekiest sweatshirt I think I've ever seen, but I love it. Looks like it's got like Hello World and a bunch of different programming languages there. That's awesome. So, well, I'm excited to have you on again. You're always one of my favorite people to talk to in these little podcast interviews because you're so knowledgeable. And I have been loving the stuff that you've been putting. You've done some stuff for our YouTube channel, but on your own YouTube channel about the metaverse and some projects that you have going on there. And I thought it would be good to just kind of talk to you about the metaverse. So I was talking to one of our owners today, one of the other owners, and I am like the brakes, I'm the person that's like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this whole crypto thing. I don't know about this whole metaverse thing. It just seems kind of scammy to me. So I am the skeptic, and I thought it would be good to talk to you as a knowledgeable person and ask you some questions about the metaverse. Okay. So I think I have 7 questions that I want to ask you about the metaverse. And let's start with the most obvious question, which is, what is the metaverse? So take us away.
So that is one of the trickiest questions ever. It's virtually impossible to define the metaverse because there's no single authoritative metaverse. No one really owns it. Most people think Facebook, changing their name to Meta, they think, oh, the metaverse, that's one specific thing, but really it just means the way that we're going for the future. So a virtual, augmented, mixed reality where we blend reality with things that are not really there, whether it's through a headset or through augmented, maybe contact lenses in the future, different gloves that let you interact with the virtual world. That's what we're talking about, is experiencing a reality that is either not real or mixed with our own reality. Okay,
so let me try to reinterpret that a little bit. So the metaverse is just a term for virtual reality, right? Or augmented reality.
Virtual, augmented, or mixed reality. So mixed reality. So virtual reality means I put on a headset or I look at some screen and I see a fake world. It's not really there, but I see that. That's virtual. Augmented reality uses something like maybe a phone. You can lift up your smartphone and it will show you things that aren't really there, but it adds it to your reality to enhance it or to add details or whatever.
Right.
So you see those virtual things in your world. Mixed reality blends the two, and it's where you can put on a headset, but your desk, you can map your desk into your virtual office, and then your desk is actually there. You can actually interact, type on your keyboard, interact with your laptop, write on stuff, and you see that real stuff in your virtual world. So it blends the two together.
So that scene in Star Wars where they're on the Millennium Falcon and they're playing chess with some kind of chess-like game with these little monsters on the table, but they're holograms. That would kind of be mixed reality, right?
Yeah, mixing pieces with virtual parts. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah. So I think that's wild. I could see a lot of uses for that myself. So the metaverse is basically just a term for putting together all of these emerging virtual mixed reality technologies. That's basically it. It's just a fancy term for things that have been coming along for decades. I remember there was virtual reality things you could buy for your Sega Genesis in the 90s. So, I mean, these things we've been working towards this for a long time.
Right, for sure.
But it's just sort of now coming to a fruition, and it's got a name, and the name is the metaverse.
Right.
Okay. So with that in mind, would you say, second question, do you think the metaverse is a fad?
In the sense that it's popular and it's really hot right now and it's growing exponentially, perhaps. In the sense that, is it going to like disappear? Is it just going to disappear in 5 years from now, or no one's going to even remember the metaverse? Absolutely not. It's going to be here forever. I think it revolutionizes things like training for doctors and EMTs, law enforcement. It can revolutionize that training to where you don't have to train in danger, in harm's way, or like for an EMT, you're not going to worry about actually harming someone because you don't know what you're doing yet. You can practice in virtual or augmented reality. And as far as entertainment goes, that's where we see it for the most part right now. Entertainment is where they're pioneering this.
Yeah, I just thought of this. The whole idea of training, that's not anything new, right? Like pilots for decades have trained using virtual reality systems, right? Like my dad and stepdad are both air traffic controllers involved in training, and they both have worked in labs that were virtual reality labs to simulate air traffic control environments. So this isn't anything new. It's just like the technologies have been improving to the point where now it's not just like something you need hundreds of thousands of dollars to set up or millions and millions of dollars to set up. Now it's something like regular businesses can use, and it's just going to become more and more mainstream. Is that right? For sure.
Yeah. So I've looked into like buying one of those like aviation simulators before, like $85,000, $100,000. You can buy an Oculus Quest 2 for like $300. Yeah. So it's the technology, the shift in what's available and what's commonplace now is mind blowing.
Okay. So we've asked, what is the metaverse? Is the metaverse bad? Question 3, metaverse a fad? Question 3, is the metaverse bad?
That is also a very tricky question.
Have you read Ready Player One?
I have not read all of it. I've read about it and I've seen the movie. I know it's not the same, but no, that's immediately where my mind goes when I first started thinking about this. I think it's one of those things with everything. It could be bad, right? We say, okay, is the internet bad? Well, yes and no, right? The internet has amazing things that it's offered us. It's brought some really weird, bad stuff to the table, but that's not the fault of the technology. That's just mankind. We just do that on our own. So will people use the metaverse for bad? Will people get sucked into it? Will people stop going to work because they're just too engrossed in this video game? Yeah, but that also happened with World of Warcraft, right? So it's not necessarily bringing anything new to the table that's bad. I don't think. It's just another way that we'll either choose to do good or bad with the technology.
Dude, I hate to get like super philosophical here, but I was reading this book this week about, it's a book, Boomers. It's a great book. Look it up. But it's just a book about like the boomer generation and some of the excesses. But anyways, there was this quote in there about technology and how technology has become a replacement for real life. And they said that for a vast crowd of people, pornography has replaced real life intimacy and marriage, and video game achievement has replaced actual, traditional measures of achievement, work life achievement. And my biggest fear with the metaverse, not saying that this makes it a bad thing, but my biggest fear is like, this is going to further, create more and more people who are not living in the real life and that's what that book Ready Player One is about. It's just a novel about like, this world in the future where everybody basically lives in squalor, but they have their, Oculus that they experience whatever they want to. And it's not a full replacement for real life. Right.
Right. And I agree with that. Again, I don't think that that's new though. I mean, they've discovered board games and tombs that are 4,500 years old, right? So people have always been trying to escape from reality. They've done it in different ways. I do think that the metaverse is going to be the next step in technology that allows you to do it even more. But for me, I don't think that, okay, if I say, you know what, I'm just done. I don't want any part of the metaverse and I'm just going to hide from it. I don't think that will prevent it from coming. I think it's coming the way. And so for me as a developer and somebody who's into technology in 100 different ways and like just creating content. I want to be a part of helping shape what the future is, because honestly, I think my kids will be using this thing in school. I think school and everything is going to start using this stuff. And sure, I could say, nope, I'm only going to use books. I just think it has to be done in moderation. And then you also have to have people who are willing to help shape it and say, okay, and help educate people, right? It's like, instead of just hiding from it, saying, hey, parents, your kids are going to start interacting with these things in school. All their friends are going to have them. Here's what you need to know about it. So that's kind of the role that I'm taking in this, is I want to make myself knowledgeable and actually try to be a positive force in it rather than running from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a wise idea. So, all right. Next question. Question number 4. Is the metaverse just a Facebook thing?
No. So yeah, that's where everybody's mind jumps, especially with the whole name change to Meta. When that happened, people were like, wait, what is Meta? What's a metaverse? And
I heard a podcaster say yesterday, like, we're not going to call him, like the Tim Apple and Mark Facebook thing. Have you ever heard that before? It's not Mark Facebook anymore. It's now Mark Meta. But gosh. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah. So it's not just a Facebook thing. They've definitely done a lot to pioneer, especially in the area of making this stuff more accessible. So it's expensive, right? So it's the technology's been around for decades. I saw a picture the other day of the founder of Atari using an experimental Atari headset in his office, like for VR. They said you got super motion sick and your eyes hurt after like 5 minutes, but it was there. So what Facebook has done is they've definitely pioneered in the way of making it cheaper, more accessible. I mean, really, Oculus did that. Facebook bought Oculus, but that's Facebook now. But Meta, whatever, metaverse. So they have taken an expensive field where something you costs $800, $900 for a headset. Now you can pick up an Oculus Quest 2 for $300. So they're definitely helping shape this world. But it's not just their thing. Microsoft, Google, a bunch of independent companies, they're all involved.
Yeah. So I remember 3-4 years ago watching a demo that Microsoft did on mixed reality, where they had, it was mind blowing. It was awesome. They had this like table, Microsoft. Did you ever see this?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. It was wild. I'm like, that's awesome. Like, I want one of those things, And I heard, it's not confirmed, of course, because of how secretive they are, but I heard that Apple is going to make a big push into virtual reality.
I've heard the same thing.
So I don't think this is going to be like, currently, like, Facebook pretty much corners this market. I don't think at the end of 2022 that's still going to be the case. I think like more and more people are going to come into this. Absolutely. And it's that Facebook just got there first.
By buying a company that was already doing it.
Yeah. And also, along that lines, like, I went to like an arcade with my kids last month, and they had one of these big like virtual reality things set up, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm going to try this. And I thought it was a subsidiary of Oculus that was doing it because of the logo. And then I looked it up, and it was like completely not related at all. So there are lots of companies already doing this. It's just, it's becoming more and more mainstream. Right.
And with that, we're also seeing it leave the private sector too. And now governments are getting involved because some see it as a future. Namely, South Korea is already instituting an official South Korean metaverse. So when someone says, we were talking about how there's no right definition, right? Well, in South Korea, there will be. When someone says metaverse, it's, there's a South Korean metaverse, and they're trying to integrate their government into it. Just crazy stuff. We don't want to get into it all, but it is branching out into the government arena. They said within the next 10 years, they'll be using VR and AR and mixed reality to train their soldiers and everything. It's becoming mainstream in some places.
Nice. All right. Next question. How hard is it currently to develop apps for the metaverse?
I hate giving ambiguous answers, but we're talking about programming and development, so it's all kind of up in the air. But how hard is it? I would say it's the equivalent to making and developing games, just plus a little bit more difficulty. So basically, the primary tools we're using for metaverse development and VR and AR and all that are game engines because of the 3D element. Like, could you do this from scratch? Yeah, maybe somebody is, maybe some of the bigger companies, but for the most part, and definitely all the independent people, you're pretty much using one of the main game engines, Unity 3D, Unreal Engine, because they've already got the 3D capabilities and they've already got packages. And if you think about it, it's really very similar to gaming. So is that all of what the metaverse is? Absolutely not. But when you think about the headsets, the controllers, the 3D environments, most of this has been pioneered and is now possible because of advances made in gaming technology. And so it's really just a good place to start. So I would say, if anybody knows anything about game development, that's the difficulty plus just a little bit more.
Okay.
So harder than making a website, but easier than making it. It depends on what you want to build, I guess I should say. So if you want to build a complete virtual world, then that's going to be a lot more difficult than trying to make something where you can walk around your living room.
Yeah. So like 15 years ago, I'm hearing feedback here. Weird. So like 15 years ago, like it was really hard to make games, right? Like, has that changed? Like yes. I feel like the game development industry has been democratized already, much like web development has been democratized already. It's much, much easier for somebody to get started today to make a game and therefore to make a metaverse app than it was 10, 15 years ago. Like, it is possible for a small team to make a small metaverse app at this point.
Or even an individual. And that's where it really gets crazy is if somebody says, you know what, I want to make an app that does this, they can do it. And honestly, you can learn most of that from YouTube. I wrote my first line of code almost 6 years ago, and it was from following gaming tutorials and a gaming like design channel called Brackeys. And so he was one of the guys that kind of Asborn Thurland kind of pioneered some of this stuff and like making it all free, making it all open. And now pretty much if you want to make games, you can. The hard part now is trying to sell them and get them noticed because there's so many, because everyone that wants to make a game, they're making games. So I think it'll be the same thing with the metaverse. I think we're going to be overwhelmed with all the content. Like right now, there's not a lot going on. There's only like 250 apps on the Oculus store. That's the last numbers I saw. It might be different since then. But of course, you can get a lot of like bootleg apps, side quests. You just upload them from the side. But eventually, there's going to be like 100,000 apps, to sort through. And it's going to be the same kind of thing we have with games. The metaverse will be massive. That's like saying, what is the internet? Oh, well, what is the internet used for? Well, I mean, it's the whole world's on there. And I think the metaverse is going to be the same thing.
Okay. So next question, or almost to the end here, should businesses use the metaverse?
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question about that. For me, looking at this, I think it's like if you could go back in time 15 years ago, maybe not quite that far, maybe 15 years ago or so, and say, should businesses use the internet? Like, are there business opportunities, and is it good for your business to have a website?
20 years ago, but yeah.
20? Well, I don't know. I was a child then.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't remember that. So a long time ago, right? Maybe not that long for some people. But if we said, okay, in the future, is that, in the near future, 5-10 years from now, will it be a good idea? If you could go back in time, you'd say yes. If we could go back in time, we'd all be buying domain names. We'd be like bestfishingspot.com and be buying that stuff, right? If we could go back. And so I think it's almost silly to look at this and say, no, that's really dumb. I think it's the perfect time to jump into the metaverse, if not a little bit late. I think businesses should absolutely be pushing into this arena. Okay,
so next question. This is theoretical. There's probably millions of answers to this question, but how can businesses use the metaverse? Like, if they should be doing it, like, what do they do? Right.
It's kind of like the question, how can businesses use the internet? It's like, oh my gosh. So I would say to start, first of all, is the big one has got to be advertising. So every time we introduce new technology to the world, we change the way advertising and marketing is done. We saw that with the internet. We see that with television, radio, right? It all changes. And so I think that the metaverse is going to shape how marketing is done. So marketing and advertising are definitely going to be something to look into the metaverse. So for example, like if I've got a company, I sell soap, right? Okay, maybe I don't need a VR app, but there's some way that I could try to get into an app somewhere with a licensing deal or some kind of brand something to do with brand awareness. Like it's going to be the next thing as far as like YouTube and Instagram kind of hit that arc, right? Where people went to that, anything could advertise by a partner with an influencer.
So
I think
yeah,
go from influencers to apps.
Are you talking about like Under Armour, like in a workout app, a metaverse workout app, like Under Armour, like putting like their brand on all the clothes that all the avatars wear in a metaverse workout app, or like that kind of stuff, or
that kind of stuff, and beyond that. But like, that's the start. Yeah, virtual advertising. I remember playing a game like, I don't know, probably 14 years ago, and all the billboards in the virtual world were for real products, right? So this isn't new. I think Obama in his first presidential campaign, he was advertising in games that had a like higher level target audience, you know, for people in their 20s, early 20s, mid 20s. They were advertising on fake billboards in virtual games. So it's not new, but it's definitely something that's going to pick up with the metaverse.
I think for me, like it seems like low hanging fruit would be like any kind of showroom app. Like imagine like being able to like imagine some kind of technology that allows, and it has to sort of exist, like allows realtors to do like a 3D walkthrough of a house. Like you can get some kind of LiDAR like scanner on a phone and scan a house, and then realtor can put that on the metaverse, and then people can just pop on their headset and do a walk around of the house, like stop, look around, look at this, you know. That would be amazing. Or like somebody that wants to like show off a new car, you know, a new bike, that kind of thing would be wild.
And that's so we made a video about this a few weeks ago, about like what the applications are for business, and that was one of the things we talked about, was a showroom, virtual showrooms, and then the other one, kind of transitioning from VR to AR, is augmented reality with product showcasing. So IKEA has already done this. You can take the IKEA app and you can say, I wonder what this couch would look like in my living room. And you hold up your phone and you put it there. It's like, oh, it would look like that. Okay. And you can see if it would fit. It's already here. But I think as we go further,
I just wish they would make it. Can I just stop and say, I wish IKEA would make an augmented reality instruction manual, because if you ever try to use it in IKEA instruction manual, it's like impossible.
Probably coming. I think we're headed that way for sure. But I think the main things as far as how it's going to affect business, how it's going to affect any industry, will be generally advertising, product showcasing. Entertainment's a big one that, like, obviously there's going to be a lot of money to be made and lost in trying to develop entertainment for the metaverse. And then the other one, and this is crazy, is going to be owning virtual assets. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but there's already things like Earth2.io, where it's a virtual world, and they mapped the entire world on a 1-to-1 scale. It's pretty easy. Those assets are already out there. But then they said, okay, we're going to strip everything out of it, all the businesses, all the houses, everything. It's just Earth, right? And you can buy land, and once all the land is bought, which I think it's already all sold out, they're going to start developing it towards a 1-to-1 scale of the Earth. And it will be a virtual reality, augmented reality thing where you can own land, run businesses, have a virtual life, and it's like starting over. So virtual assets are going to be huge in the coming years.
Color me skeptical on that one. All right. Oh, all right. Well, thank you so much for jumping on here and talking about these things. If you have questions about the metaverse, obviously we're positioning ourselves so that we can do some of these metaverse projects for businesses in the future. It's somewhere that we're trying to go. We would love to answer those questions, love to talk to you about it, get you on the phone with me and Nathan, and we could talk about your idea. If you have other development ideas, we do mobile apps and we do web apps constantly, and got a good sized team of developers working on that. Again, thanks, Nathan, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
All
Thanks.
right. Later.